to the Public Relations panel for our Media Week. We have some very wonderful public relations practitioners here. And I said I was going to introduce you, or let you introduce yourselves, but I'm going to say this is Haley Cummings with the Connect Agency, David Clark with Children's Home Society, looking here, Katrina Greco with Corporate Communications with FIS Global, if I'm getting this wrong, Donia Crime with Burnett Ketchum, and Lynette Hart. And Lynette, she's doing her own thing, so she's the one, I'm doing great. All right, so this is our panel for today. What I'm going to have them start with is just to give us a little bit about themselves, what they do, and then we'll ask them some questions. And you all, this is for you to learn. I'm assuming all of you are public relations majors or want to be public relations majors. And so this is a real opportunity to network and get to know these outstanding individuals and how they have made it in their career. So let's begin.
So my name is Haley Jennings. I'm an account manager at the Connect Agency, which is a small marketing agency downtown. I just graduated in December, so it's nice to be back. I've been in this room for 4 years, so I feel very comfortable here. I guess before I graduated, I had 3 internships. 2 of them I did in one summer. They were both social media internships. One of them was at Folio Weekly, and the other was at Jacksonville Parks and Rec downtown. And then the 3rd internship was my favorite internship. It was a social media and SEO internship at Discover Tech. I'm good friends with Tommy Hogan, who comes in to speak at UNF sometimes, and he pulled up something about Google Analytics and SEO and started talking this different language, and I found that it was really interesting, and I was like, I need to learn more about this. So that internship really got me my job now, which I've learned a whole bunch at. It's a marketing agency, so I didn't think I'd be at a marketing agency, but you really apply everything that you learn here all at once in 10 different ways. I manage probably 5 to 7 client accounts, all types of different things from email marketing to social media to Google AdWords, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah. I'm
Making sure. So I'm David Clark, and I work at Children's Home Society of Florida, and I am familiar with this room as well. I have been in this room teaching plenty of times. I've been an adjunct professor for several years, and I've been taking a break as my job has shifted. So I am a regional director of philanthropy, and so I am a fundraiser. I work with a team of 10 different folks who are in between here and over to Pensacola, raising money to help children who have stressful situations at home and hopefully bringing them to permanent living homes. So I am similar that we, with Haley, that we both have jobs that are non-traditional public relations, but certainly rely on the same curriculum and the same skill sets. And so fundraising is a function of public relations. So we certainly do a lot of our PR work and communicating, making sure our donors are working together. So we work with events. We do a lot of events, but our primary way of raising money is working one-on-one with donors and helping them see the opportunities that they can make a difference and matching up their wealth with our children's needs. And so it's a very rewarding job. It's a great job. My I did have a PR firm for a few years before that, and worked at United Way for several years before that as VP of Communications.
My name is Katrina. I graduated in 2007 at Pittsburgh School, Liberal Arts College up in Pittsburgh in journalism, public relations track. When I graduated, I thought I wanted to do nonprofit PR work. I honestly didn't know that corporate communications could apply the PR curriculum, so it wasn't on my radar. Was fortunate to make a big impact with some of the professors at my school that connected me with a job in corporate communications. So I ended up there, not really knowing that was a possibility, and I've been in the corporate communications career paths ever since. I went back and got my master's in public relations because I'm definitely a geek about the curriculum, wanted to learn more, and as I grew as an individual and a professional, I knew that there was more to learn to apply back at the job. So if you want to ask anything about that and kind of some of the other possibilities that are non-traditional as well, I think I could speak to that too.
Donia Crime.
Actually been working at public relations and integrated marketing agencies for over 20 years. I actually graduated from UNF and went to Atlanta immediately, and worked there for about 15 years before I came back home. But I work at Burdett Ketchum right now, which is a medium-sized firm. We're in San Marco, do advertising and social media and public relations. I'm in charge of the social media and public relations department. We do a lot of things. We have some clients that we just do PR for, and when you think about public relations, I think people automatically think it's media relations, so talking to editors and trying to get stories. That's a very small portion of what we do. We actually do a lot more strategy, helping them position what they want to do with their messaging. It could be internal communications, direct customer communications, as well as some media relations. That's always on the table. And we work very closely with the advertising side of our agency so that we have an integrated approach to some of our client work. Some accounts we just do social media. So I'll manage Facebook pages for clients, Twitter accounts, getting into some Instagram. But part of that as well is looking at the business reasons why they want to use those mediums, and then how are we going to measure that, and always relates back to business goals. When you're at an agency, clients hire you to help them basically increase sales, whether the bottom line is always there. So we always have to make sure we're keeping that in mind. But I worked down here again for 6 years, and then previously I did work at Weber Shandwick in Atlanta, which is an international PR agency. And that was not, we integrated a little bit, but that was very much more traditional, big agency, large clients, lots of food service and B2B clients and packaging clients and things. So happy to discuss. If you're interested in agency world, I can give you all the, the different sizes and shapes of it.
Awesome. Hi everyone. I'm Lynette Hart, APR CPRC. Excited to be here. Let's see, a little bit about myself. I've been in the business for about 25 plus years. I was very fortunate as one of those folks. I came out of high school knowing exactly what I wanted to do, PR. I had an opportunity to spend some time with a PR executive when I was in high school and fell in love with it. Went to school very focused in PR, but I wasn't sure exactly what part. As Donna mentioned, there's so much more, and a lot of people just think media relations. And so I was able to quickly get some internships to kind of understand. So I hope you guys are doing that too. You know, try PR in a governmental aspect. Agency, I quickly realized, not my favorite cup of tea. I really thought I wanted to do corporate communications, and doing all these different things helped me to understand that yes, I really do want to do corporate communications. So I took that track, and I worked for, you know, I had a little job here or there and a little freelancing, but I was able to get a really good job shortly out of college. I was grateful for that. And I started working with Bank of America in about '94, and I worked with them for about 20 years in corporate communications. Before I left, I was managing our global benefits, HR work for that. So lots of, I've got a lot, still very corporate. I'm a corporate girl. I'm trying to do better. My friends laugh at me and say, you still wear a lot of black. But I'm not both sides of it. I know, I'm a banker girl. But so a lot of corporate, with the bank, we did a lot of strategic planning, a lot of messaging and measurements and evaluation. So we worked a lot with leaders, execs, to help them to achieve their goals by way of communications, whether it was internal, external. We kind of worked it like agency. Internally, we had our own clients that we worked with. So it really prepared me for, in 2013, it was something I kind of always wanted to do, but I had bills, I had a good job, what are you doing? But I did, I took the leap in 2013. I planned for about a year, and I had a client before I left. And I did leave the bank and started doing my own thing, and I have a consulting firm. It's called Hart & Associates, and the exciting thing for me, some days most days I think I should have done this a long time ago. I love working with so many different projects and clients and learning so many new things. And the cool thing that you guys hopefully will discover in communications is if you know how to be a good communicator, then you can help the world. Because a lot of your clients are coming to you saying, I know I have good stuff, but I don't really know how to say it. And I'm talking about the smartest people. I've worked with bank execs who just so smart, but they just don't know how to translate it. And I found, so in PR, I feel as if I'm kind of split in half. I'm very much a creative person, and I'm also very business-minded, and you have to be able to be both, I think, to be very successful, because the business is looking for you to understand whatever their business is very quickly, and then be able to translate that, not just in communications, but also to all of your partners. So you have a designer, you have the writers, you have all these folks that are bringing the creative in. So you have to be able to move that message along so that it makes sense, so that it's attractive, that it's clear, that it drives people to do whatever it is that they want to do. So my expertise became change communications. With all my years with the bank, a lot of the mergers that you've probably heard over the years, involved in those mergers, being able to say, hey, we're going to move the dial, we're going to do these things, this is exactly how we're going to do. So helping companies plan from a communication perspective, which is a really good skill to have. So today I was able to translate that for myself, for my clients that I do bring in. So I've got some big clients, some small clients, corporate clients, federal contracting, and just, again, it's all transferable. The skills are transferable. People either have a problem or they have an opportunity, and they need you to help them reach whomever it is that they need to reach to be successful. Whether it's to sell, as Donna said, or it's, it could even be someone running for something. And they're trying to get their message out. What's the best way to do it? That's what they're looking for you guys to do. So that's what I do, and I love it. And I love sharing that love with those that love it too.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then I'm going to turn it over to you all. But I sort of want you, ladies and gentlemen, to go back in time for a second, because we have young people in this room that are looking at you and seeing all this experience and are probably getting a bit overwhelmed and thinking, how am I ever going to get there? So I want you to go back in time and tell me what you think was the reason that you got your first job in communication. What were the things that why did you get that job? What were the things that you did to get you that job in communication? Not while you're working in college, or some of those things might have had factors, but. So I'm just going to open it. Anybody that wants to start can start. So.
I'll go ahead and start. So my first job, actually, when I graduated UNF, I went up to go to Atlanta, and I started grad school at Georgia State University because I didn't know really what I wanted to do. But I thought more school works, so we'll do that. But so then I had nobody in town, had no contacts whatsoever, and basically just started back in those days. There was newspaper ads, and you would answer those by sending your resume in. But that's what I would do. But I think what I got, my first job was at a PR agency, but and it was part-time, so being willing to do part-time while I went to school at night at Georgia State. And then also I was the receptionist / account coordinator / everything. So I think what really got my first job was being ambitious and showing and kind of, being poised and listening, but also being willing to do whatever it took to start. Knowing that, and I actually was there for 6 years. So moved up and was one of, the account leads, but being willing to, kind of compromise, of course I'm in grad school, of course I can't answer the phones, but that's what that's what I was there to do, and that's what I did, and I did that, and within 6 months or so, got promoted up. But I think that's really what kind of, helped as well, was just that, and I think they could see that in me, that I was ambitious and also would do good at taking out the trash. I mean, that's what it was.
I would echo that. I'd say you just have to try and try to be noticed in just being an overachiever, asking questions, putting yourself out there. I think relationships are key. So I became better friends with professors than I did peers, just because they're the knowledge holders. I respected that. I knew that they knew that. They knew the industry, and I felt that the relationships with them are important. So I focused on that, and that's ultimately how I bridged the gap between my undergrad and my first job, was just that I made an impression with our chair of the journalism department, because I made sure that I was always there, asking questions, raising my hand, volunteering, and she recommended me for the job. And I think you just never know who you're on the elevator with, who you're walking down the hall with, who can actually help you. So I try to be positive and put myself out there, even though sometimes it requires confidence, requires taking a risk, but without that, I don't know that I'd be where I am today.
Both the ladies have offered some really good advice, and I share the same ideas. But to add to them, standing out, I think, is really important with your professors, but standing out with other folks, like in this kind of environment. So at the end of this, you'll have a chance to get to meet us or to leave, and it's your choice. But if you stop to really get to know us and to talk to us and try to get a better sense of who we are and what we might be able to bring to your networking and your ideas for a future career, will certainly should make a difference. Standing out really can be a tremendous amount of the work that you need to do. For me, I thought I was going to go to John Brown College. I went to Auburn University, and this is it. Time to start my career. I went back and did the bank telling while I was looking for my job, and didn't get the job right away, but I landed in with a fellowship for grad school, so I went back to grad school instead. And then I came over here, and like Danya said, kind of took a risk, and I came here to work in a job that was a contract position. It was not a permanent job at United Way, but I was determined that I was going to be able to convince them that they could not live without me. Looking back on that, where I am today, as somebody's been in the career as long as Lynette Hart has been. So I just want to make sure you guys are peers. Anyway, but when I look back on it now, I think, gosh, I can't imagine doing that today. I mean, I lived in Pensacola, so moving from Pensacola over here, moving and deciding that I'm just going to make this work. But that youthful confidence and exuberance was really important to making it happen. To get me to move, first off, but then to also prove to the folks where I was working that they really didn't want to have that company without me. And it took just 2 years to become a vice president. So it was that determination, that willingness to just do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's taken the class Employability Skills and Career Success, because you should. It seems boring in a way, but it just prepares you for getting a job as soon as you graduate. And every single class we would have to stand up and do our elevator speeches, which is 30 seconds, sell yourself. And it was awful, and I hated doing it. But when I went on interviews, I went on probably 3 big interviews, and I killed the interview, but I just found that it was not what I wanted to do. But having that class to force you to do it definitely helped in the interview process. I remember being in campaigns class, and everyone around me was applying to jobs, and it was like October, like now, and I was really nervous and really stressed out about it, but it's going to be okay. Like, if you work hard and you get, internships are very important. Even doing stuff that's not an internship. I know Amy is interning at Void Magazine. I was a contributing writer there for a while, and if someone knows, knowing people is really important. So if someone knows somebody else there, it's a connection you never knew you had. So I definitely believe a lot in internships and just taking the steps to prepare yourself for graduating.
I would add to be hungry. And what I mean by that, you really should go after it. Even if no one's offering you a job, start working And that was helpful for me because I volunteered a lot. I would say, you know what, hey, Bobby, I'm a new student, or I'm right out of college and I really want to learn how to do this. Can I hang out with you some? Okay, great. Can I write a story for you? And you want to help me do my work for free? Great. And then you do that. I mean, and genuinely, like I want to learn, right? And I'm young, I'm bright, and I have time. Use me. And you know what? It happens that when there is an opportunity, that person says, oh my, you know what? I've seen her work. She's really good. Give her, call her. That has helped me more times than not. Even when I worked for the bank, and I started out in the one job that I had, which, I was happy about, and then I was like, okay, I want to grow. And there were no opportunities in the other, and you just call up the phone and say, hey, you guys ever can use me? I'd be happy to do stuff for you. Okay, great. Would you like for me to do whatever? Just let me know. And it always opens the doors. And it's whether, you just call up someone individually, or I'm a big advocate, as these guys know, who know me, that volunteering in an organization is very helpful, because if you have experience, let's say, with writing, but you really want to get more social media experience, and if you're in an organization, you say, hey, guys, I'd like to volunteer to be your social media coordinator. Trust me, they're going to say, oh, great! And now you can practice this skill. And so now you're working with people that you would have never worked with, and now they know who you are. It helps. And they remember that when it's time to give out jobs. Way more than if you come to people and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? I don't know you. I'm not going to, I have years of experience and built relationships with people. I can't just refer someone that I don't know, if that makes sense.
And I have an example that ties back actually to here. I attended the internship fair in 2014, actually looking for an interning. I can tell you like 99% of everybody just handed me a piece of paper and walked away and didn't attempt to even make a conversation. And the person that we ended up hiring attempted to make a conversation, ask questions, put themselves out there. And I know it's like a very overwhelming, nervous, like you walk into an internship fair thinking they're evaluating me, whether they're gonna hire me. It's like, no, we just want you to just be you and just come out and put yourself out there. And that was a specific example here. So if you guys do it again, put yourself out there a little bit more.
And stay in touch. I did this last year, and I linked in with several students. I can't tell you right now. I've got about probably 500 LinkedIn connections, but not one of them has kept me up to date on what they're doing. Not one of them has sent me information, oh, I got a job, or any of that stuff. And the intern, I had an intern 2 years ago, and we're actually looking to hire. The minute that we got this position open, I said, I know exactly who to call. I didn't want to interview anybody else. I already knew her work ethic. I worked with her 2 years ago. And, but because she kept me posted on what she was doing, and she likes our company Facebook page, and I kind of see her out there, she's top of mind. And that's, as PR people, that's what we're supposed to do for our clients. So you got to do it for yourself too. So, once a year, hey, I got a new job. I'm glad I met you at this. Just wanted to let you know I'm still in Jacksonville. I'm doing this now. Even if you're not looking, keep people up to date on what you're doing, because then they will know and go, oh, I have a client that might be needing this, or I'm looking for this, or, I might actually need help in something. And that's, otherwise you're just this, I have, like I said, 500 LinkedIn contacts, probably, I would say 100 of them I have to actually label, where do I know that person from, because they don't really keep up in touch with me. And most of them are younger folks, actually. So that's another kind of just tip.
We have a new panel member. This is Trish Kapuska. And Trish, the things that we were talking about, first, please introduce yourself and tell the class who you are and what you do. And then second of all, the question I asked them was for them to go back in time when you were young and you got your very first public relations or communications position. What was it that you thought, why did you get that position? What did you do to get that very first position? So I know we have to go, that's only a few years for you, but we have to go.
Yeah, just just a couple.
So just tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so again, my name is Trish Kaplitzka, APR CPRC. I'm accredited in public relations, I'm a certified public relations counselor, as is Lynette. I have a consulting firm, TLK Communications. I've been in marketing communications for about 26 years. Or 28 or 30, I don't know. We'll keep it at 26. I also, a few years ago, decided, well, there was a variety of things that happened, but I also decided to be an entrepreneur, so I'm co-owner of 3 Edible Arrangements franchises. So I find that my PR and marketing experience has helped me in this particular enterprise as well. Quickly, how did I get my first job? I got my first job at a PR firm here in Jacksonville. I graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in marketing, a degree in business. I majored in marketing, so I wasn't a PR major per se. And so my very first job I got because of my internship. I interned in an agency in Gainesville for about 1.5 years. And when I graduated, they didn't have a job for me back in the 80s. There were not a lot of PR jobs, I will tell you, and particularly in Gainesville, but his brother had a PR firm here in Jacksonville, and so I was referred here. So I think I heard speak of internships and do many, do them often, do a variety, as many as you can, and to figure out what you want to do as much as what you don't want to do. And do them well, because those folks can be everything you need to be successful starting out.
Okay, let me open it up to you all. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? Go ahead. Denise, you want to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk loud.
So this is going to the internship kind of question. So when looking for your first internship, do you guys recommend to look for like a PR agency that does all kinds of PRs, or if you're kind of considering doing like PR for like food companies or something, going towards that section and seeing if you like that first?
That's an individual decision. I think you heard from a couple different folks trying out multiple internships is certainly highly recommended. And I think all of us on the panel would agree that if you have more than one, that will be great for you in finding your next job, but also it will help you identify what you really want to do. And so that first one, if you've already committed to do more than one, that first one can be anything. Just pick one that you think sounds interesting, something you had thought of maybe. But if you're only doing one, then you definitely want to make sure that it's going to be in an area that you want to pursue as your career.
As I said, it helps you figure out what you don't want to do. I always thought that I wanted to go into retail management. And so my very first internship in school, I interned with Kmart, which back in that time was Walmart. I mean, it was before the decline. And so they put me basically through a rigorous management training program. They paid me well for the internship, but after 8 weeks or 10 weeks, I realized I do not want to do retail management. It just was not, whether it was for Walmart or Kmart or whomever, it just was not of interest to me. So that was as valuable to me as a PR firm, because I could have gotten into something, an industry that I would have ended up not liking at all.
And shadowing is good too. I shadowed at the local television station here and immediately decided broadcast journalism was not going to be what I was going to major in, even though that was exactly what I was going to do when I got to college. So that literally took me less than 8 hours to decide, basically. But if I wouldn't have gone there and done that, and gone to the evening news cycle and all of that stuff, it was actually Marshall Ladendorf. I don't know if she still teaches here. Yeah. So she's a friend of my father. So back then, she was like, sure, I don't care if you tag along. And I just did the whole, thing after school all the way through the evening, and it's like, I am not doing that. And so that, it was, free one day out of your day, and it really did set the course. I think I was a sophomore maybe at the time, almost going into junior year. So things like that too, I think is not a formal internship, but can really help if you have various interests. Just go shadow somebody, spend the day.
Really great idea.
What is a common misconception that people have about your job? Do they hear your title and they think, oh, nonprofit, you don't make money, or oh, corporate, you do crisis intervention? What is one misconception? What is one misconception that people have, and how do you defeat that? How do you come back with, no, I actually do this? Or is it true? Or yeah, and how do you defeat those?
You know what that reminds me? I wish I had it as a picture. I'll have to send it to Professor Doggett. A picture, it said, for PR professionals, what my friends think I do, what my parents think I do. You guys see that?
Yeah.
That is so.
My dad thinks I write for a newspaper.
Exactly. And it's just, the weird thing about it is every day is a little different. But from a misconception, of course, you know, you hate the spin master business because it's not quite true. You know, sometimes it is a little bit. It just depends on, you know, your client and what you've got going on. And you kind of like, okay, this is really bad news one way or the other. So what side we're going to put you on to make it. But yeah, I think the misconception is that we are maybe whining, dining, because it is grinding. I mean, my knees are sore on a regular basis because I burn it every day and night. So I hate to say it.
Yeah, we are party planners, that we like to go do parties, which I can do but do not enjoy. And also that we have this, you know, large Rolodex of media contacts that we can call them, and at a drop of the hat, they will put your news in because of these relationships. That, and then we have relationships apparently with like people at the Today Show and the Florida Times Union and every trade magazine known to man. And that's just not how it works. So from a client perspective, they always like, oh, well, we're hiring you because so you can get us in the news. Like, well, what news do you actually have? Because that's really what is going to get you in the news. So those are the two things we come up against all the time.
Or you can cover up all the problems that we have. We have
Oh, yeah, exactly.
operational
Hide
customer
that over
service, you know, we have all these problems, but you're a PR person, so you're gonna make it all better.
And I think
Right.
it depends on who you are, but a big misconception is like that we're just tactical, so we're just like order takers, like can you write this press release? And a lot of times that's what they're asking for, and you have the call and you're like, wow, there's a way bigger problem under the surface that you didn't even realize. So I think being viewed as strategists is an ongoing challenge for us, and some people just like to burn and churn and write, and that's fine, but most PR people are driven by making a difference, having a voice, being there to help the business at the end of the day, and I think that's a misconception that I face on a daily basis, even with my internal clients as well.
You mentioned nonprofits not being paid, so I'll represent that. Well, you know, I think that it's true that you start off pretty low, but you can make money in nonprofits too. In fact, in the fundraising world, not where I work, but in other agencies, the top fundraisers make more than the top executives. You know, so you can easily make a very good living as a fundraiser, particularly. So it can work out just fine for the nonprofits. It really can.
That was a really good question. I was trying to think about the answer this whole time. Probably, I tell people a lot, I work at a small marketing agency because it is small, it's 5 people. So maybe something that someone would think is, oh, well, you don't have any big clients or clients that are doing like really well, or like really big name clients. We do have Arlington Toyota, we do social media for them. We have Member Benefits, which is a private health exchange company so it's like a Obamacare, just a private health exchange company. They were named in the top 1,000 fastest growing companies by Inc. magazine. And then one of my clients is Lego Contracting, which is a general contractor downtown. So they get projects all over the country that are $20 million, $18 million projects. So small marketing agency doesn't mean small jobs. It could, it does, but it doesn't have to be.
I guess like mine is more towards David, but because I have a love for like event planning and fundraising and philanthropy. So how did you find your love in that? Because I'm not really sure if I want to do nonprofit, and I guess it's one of those like, you know, internship type of things. I've already had 2. I'm working on getting my 3rd one done, hopefully in spring. But how how did you find your love for doing that in nonprofit?
It's a great question. I actually thought it was going to be the net heart when I was in school, because I said I did bank telling. I knew for sure I was going to be in the banking world. I was an accounting major for 3 years before I found the love of PR, and I found the job at United Way and went and realized this is what I do. But even initially, I thought I was going to do it for a couple of years and get into the corporate world. And but the further I got into it, the more I realized that it was just it ignited something in me that I didn't know even existed. Knowing that the end of the day is a benefit to someone else other than a shareholder was meaningful to me. Not that when you benefit shareholders, it's meaningful work. It is, of course, we need that in order to keep our economy moving forward and keeping everyone happy and productive. But for me, it really was just it's pretty quick. I will tell you though that there are other ways to be involved with nonprofits. Trish, right here, is a different of mine for a long time. But she also is the immediate past chair of where I work. So she, even though she was not working in the nonprofit this time, she has in the past, but she spent a considerable amount of time, and still does, helping us out as a volunteer and as a board member. So there are still ways if you decide, I'm not sure I can do this every day, you still provide that nonprofit work as a board member, because we need lots of those.
Or I was going to say, you can consult like me, because I do get to work with folks like David that are doing some really good things. And the beauty for me is I really can't do that on a day-to-day basis. I'm a little too emotional. I have a friend that worked for some really important things that she was helping the community with domestic abuse and other things like that. I can't handle that on a day-to-day basis. It'll just, but I can lend my expertise to that, as my client. That's another way to look at it. Even the event management, I love that kind of stuff. I'm just like, please give me more that kind of thing. But but not, but for a purpose. So a lot of times, corporations, organizations, they're having events, and so it's not just coming in and planning what color the napkins are, but why are we having an event? What are we doing? Who are we reaching? What's our goal? Those are the kinds of things that I help them with. And then I get to also pick out the colors of the napkins.
I wanted to add one more thing too, because in between my nonprofit work, I stopped and had my own PR firm, and I had some nonprofit clients, I had for-profit clients. But it did not take long for me to realize that was not going to provide the satisfaction I wanted in my life. It was lucrative, I did well financially, but it was clear to me that I needed to go back to work for nonprofits, and that's why I'm back in a nonprofit. So, I think you do kind of figure out what's going to drive you and keep you motivated, and sometimes it happens instantly and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But and the great thing with PR, and as you've heard from this panel, is that the skill sets are transferable. And so even if you go down one path and decide later, well, I think I'm ready to go more in the corporate world or more nonprofit world or agency work or whatever, the skill set is transferable. And so just know that too.
And I think you can find it in places you wouldn't think. Like I thought that I could only get that giving back if I went the nonprofit direction, and I found out in corporate communications that actually that you can do it there as well. Especially these days, corporations have to have a corporate responsibility program, so they have to be seen from a brand perspective as giving back, among many other things, but I think a lot of them do it organically as well. And so some of my favorite nuggets of the day involve us raising money with our employees and doing all kinds of events that helps increase that engagement. I mean, I personally was responsible for increasing donations by 80% for my last company, and that's something that I achieved through the corporate world.
So a lot of that's in-house for you guys then, in corporate communications?
Yep, we tend to only use, for example, PR agencies when it comes to media relations, in our case. So everything else is in-house. So my day looks completely different, and there's a lot of variety. So everything, like my one perfect day that was absolutely insane last year this time was we had a concert on our campus for our employees. So there was 1,000 people trying to coordinate all the bands, and there's a team that supports you, but that was one of the things I was in charge of. At the same time, I had an executive video shoot later that day where we were announcing a CEO transition, like probably the biggest announcement I've ever been exposed to in my career on the same day, among all these other things. So it's just, every day is different. This morning I was on a branding call, we're rebranding. Later today I'm on another call about a video shoot that's coming up in San Diego in January. So it's like all of this. And then I also am part of our campus committee here in Jacksonville. So our headquarters for FIS is here in Jacksonville. So everything related to that is all about the employees and all about giving back to the community. So it's just, I feel I'm happy because I get a little piece of everything every day that kind of balances out.
And from a corporate standpoint, you know, I've worked for a company that was very mission-based, even though it was a for-profit company. Well, it should have been a for-profit company. As it turned out, it was a startup. It wasn't a for-profit company, but that's a whole other story. But, you know, it was healthcare-based. And so everything we did was about improving people's health. And so that was one of the reasons that it was so engaging for me, is because even though it was supposedly for-profit, it was very mission-focused, very mission-based. So aside from, you know, raising money and getting involved in the community, just what you do every day, knowing that you have the capacity to help someone, you know, can also give you that sense of fulfillment, like you're really contributing, you know, to the betterment of people without necessarily working for a nonprofit. So it's really, you know, so think of mission-based. Mission-based isn't necessarily just nonprofit, as long as the mission isn't just making money for your stockholders that may or may not be satisfied.
If I can add this, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but again, there's so many opportunities in corporate, because I think a point that wasn't brought up, a large corporation like at Bank of America, and I know there's many other large corporations, you can only imagine the day-to-day bombardment that they get from not-for-profits, right? Deep pockets,
Sorry.
give us, but no. and you know, as you said, they want to be corporate, you know, they want to be responsible, they want to give. So now it is like this ocean shoving down their throats. So they really have full departments just concentrating on who do we give to, how much do we give on a national level, on a local level, you know, disbursement of the amounts of money, so that it's a consistent, considered effort, and it underscores the bank's goals. So if it's an organization that's important to them, you know, so I know the bank is very big on education, so they gave a lot to education and continue to do that, you know, make those kinds of decisions.
And like Firehouse, I'm sorry, this is like obviously important to, but like locally, Firehouse.
Hopefully to you too.
I didn't know what I was saying.
But to that point too, Firehouse Subs, which is locally
Yeah.
based and grown here, they have their safety foundation. So they, you know, in response to that, because as a company they were, you know, bombarded really with requests for things. So they took that and put it towards something that is important to them as firemen or, you know, previous firemen. So they have the safety foundation. So the money that they raise corporately goes to their safety foundation that buys, you know, different safety items for police and fire and rescue all over the country. So that's just an extension of that corporate responsibility, but that's how they have done it.
My question is about graduate school. Is there a huge return on investment for graduate school if you're not looking to get into teaching, or period? Like if you're considering graduate school, is it really worth it in the end? Or are you going to make, you know, considerable amount more than what you would if you didn't?
Josh and John just walked in the room.
I think it depends on why you're going. If you're going just to make money, then I personally, that's not what drove me to make more money, if that makes sense. I think the MBA track is probably aligned with that if you're just looking to get management, leadership, and a salary increase. In that case, it can do that. And I do think an MBA is important for PR majors to help understand the business. Me personally, I just love PR enough that I just wanted to learn more. And I do want to teach someday. So that was I think you kind of fall in either category, and if you don't, then I question, like, yeah, is it worth it? So the return for me is worth it, but it wasn't because I was seeking a promotion, it was because I was seeking more knowledge at the end of the day.
I guess I'm looking more for like, not necessarily just more money, but can you get further in your career by taking that step earlier?
You can. And the other thing is, for what we do, there's a lot of certifications and a lot of ongoing development even outside of the university walls. So all of that is available to you to keep yourself having that edge. And for me, I wanted experience before I went back and did graduate school. I think for Danielle it was like, I don't know what to do, I just, right? Is that what you said?
Hey, someone's paying my tuition, I'm gonna go to grad school.
But for me, I wanted to kind of get that practice first, and understand before I continue to invest, and understand, is this even something I'm liking? And I found that it was a lot, and so I just wanted to learn more. So I would, yes, early, but not too early, if that
You
makes
can
sense.
go differently. Mine was graduate, I went to, and I specialized in communications law, because I was thinking of actually going into law school. So I learned, and I didn't learn a drop of this in undergrad, but very much libel laws and newspaper, all the legal side of all of the communications stuff. Does it? And so that's the kind of, just because that's how my mind works, and I'm very logical, and I was going to go that way, and so I was like, well, how am I going to find that information out? And it is a little bit covered in some of the, certifications, but I really wanted to go to that. So Georgia State was where I went, and it was a communication law track, and so I was very heavily into that. And it's been interesting because I don't really practice every day, except for I am the one person, most clients and agency where I go, actually, no, we can't do that, or actually, because I have a little bit of that background too, but it was more of an interest as well. And the way I look at it too is if it's me against another candidate as well, and they're going to look, if it's equal and I have a graduate degree, then hopefully that will, put me at the top of the pile a little bit more. But then I ultimately decided not to go to law school because no one was.
But if I was hiring somebody like
I had to actually make money, and then I got into actually making money in my career.
I do think though, if I was hiring somebody like right out of school entry level, I'd want experience over a second degree or a graduate level degree.
And remember, I worked while I was at grad school too. So I didn't just go to grad school. I was working all day and then went to grad school at night. And so it was basically, again, it was going and getting that because I didn't want to come out from grad school with 6 years of schooling and again, no actual work experience. So.
And they gave you some great feedback, but I think the key is motivation. What do you hope to? Why are you motivated to get the next degree? Is it to learn more, to learn more about your trade, to do better in your career? Kind of understanding what that is, and that helps you identify which way you should go in terms of what degree you should seek. For me, it was more of an opportunity as well. Someone was willing to help cover a lot of the costs, and I finished in only a year, so it was very quick with the thesis.
Because you're so exceptional.
Because I'm so exceptional. And Trish worked me on this, so you heard that first. Right? But no, that was part of my goal, because I did have some university fatigue, I was ready to get out, so I wanted to do a faster track. So you can do a faster track, that's what the point was. But so I think you seem to kind of decide if it's going to work for you. I don't know that it opened any more doors for me. I don't know that it made it any, from an outside person looking at my resume, but I do think it helped me embrace the concepts of public relations a whole lot better. It was definitely a different way of studying public relations. It was a much more theoretical approach. It was a more intense approach, and it was more independent. And so all of those things, I think, allowed me to get a much better understanding of what we call public relations. And I do think it made me a better employee. I don't know if the employers would acknowledge that. So.
And regardless, accreditation is, very important. So when you have 5 years of experience, well, I guess there's no requirement now, but you do have to go through, an evaluation process to make sure that you're ready for that. But as an employer, I would look more favorably on an APR than someone that does not have an APR.
Or CMP. Sorry, for IABC.
Competing groups.
Fran, did you?
Yeah. I mean, and it kind of follows off with that, but we learned so much here, and there's so much yet to learn. And I'm still trying to figure out what those things are. As far as certifications and things, like yesterday, Haley talked to me about getting certified in Google AdWords or learning about analytics. And I didn't know if there was anything that not necessarily makes a resume look better, but skills that are good to have for when you're going into all kinds of different jobs in any of your fields.
Writing.
Yeah.
I couldn't stress writing enough. I can't tell you how many things that I look at, how many interns I've worked with. I mean, dozens and dozens, and writing is always something that is so critical in what we do, whether you're writing in 140 characters or whether you're writing a thesis. And so just never, ever think that you're good enough that you don't need to keep practicing and trying to get better. Writing is the most important thing that we do.
I definitely agree with that. I took up the creative writing minor it was a lot of fiction writing, but it did help me just fine tune my writing skills. So I definitely second writing skills and communication skills, verbal as well. But it's clear to me, I can see very fast if somebody can't write a complete sentence or doesn't know how to write.
Doesn't understand the lead, or puts in a bunch of unnecessary words to sound more knowledgeable. It's like less is more. I don't know.
That's like what gets you your first level of respect.
Yeah.
I think like when you're like looking at somebody that's coming in, it's like, can they write? Okay, great. Then I know they're capable of all these other things as well. It is the baseline, truthfully, but it's not the end all be all. I think for me, I think it's things that you can't even necessarily teach. Like it's navigating politics and how you respond and how you're going to manage your work ethically. Like a lot of those things are you can't discover in this kind of a setting. They teach it, but until you're put in that situation, you throw all the books away and you're like, I don't even know. Like it's just.
The point about writing though is if you can find ways to get published, go to the paper and say, can I write something for the paper? You're not a journalism student. They'll still take help for you. Do blog posts. I know you guys all have to do blog posts probably in some of your classes, so that's good. But go to volunteer in a nonprofit and say, hey, I'd love to write a story about one of your clients. And we all have clients that we would love to have a summary on. So, and then that's the concrete that you're looking for. That's the piece that you can take with and say, here's some examples. Here's some sample writings that I have. And you're going to, and I'm so thrilled to hear you endorse the writing necessity too, since you're so much closer to graduation than I am. And
Or me, you meant me.
I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to say that. But I think, being able to demonstrate that you're writing, the more practice you have, the better you are. So you may not choose to include all your initial writing for folks, but if you do it for several months, you'll be like, this is really much better than the first one I wrote. So writing and getting more chances, and then it builds your portfolio. So.
If I can just add on the writing, versatile writing is important because I know for me especially, and many other writers, it's one is a little easier than others. So it's helpful for you, and it makes you way more marketable when you can write different styles of marketing. Writing is different than PR writing because you have to know the journalistic style. It's different than social media writing. And someone that's like, okay, yeah, I know what you want, and you're writing all these different kinds of ways. And then also just to underscore, you will lose it. Writing is a skill. If you don't keep it up, you will lose it. So I can say that from experience after years of working more tactical and execution, and then you keep working your way up, and now you have people to do the writing for you. And after a while, after financial crisis, we're letting people go, and there's a lot of people that have been doing this for years. Like, crap, now I gotta write myself.
That's true, that happens.
You do, you lose it.
Okay, one more question because we're running out of time. Go ahead.
Interview questions. what is your favorite one? What's kind of like the tell that you usually use to kind of weed out for internships or for jobs?
Is you all going up for internships or looking for jobs?
I would make sure that you do some research on behavioral style interviewing. It is definitely a trend with lots of different companies use that where I work. That's where they ask you for a specific example, and then they follow up with further questions. And it's a very different way of interviewing, so definitely make sure you at least understand it before you, and practice it before you go into the first one. I don't know that I have a favorite question that's a good weed out question. For me, we do phone screenings first where I work, so I have a chance to talk by phone and some good phone skills. Certainly, lots of interviews are on Skype, so they can be comfortable doing those interviews without being in person.
Being in an integrated agency, I mean, I always ask people like, what is their definition of PR and why are they PR? Because I think they come in and they, you know, and they'll start talking about account management or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not what we do. And I can immediately tell if they're really in PR or they just want to get in an agency in any way possible. And as the PR and social media director, I can't use somebody that likes graphic design if they don't know how to write, because that's not my department. So I'll ask that kind of stuff, and then, you know, if like, oh, I love people, then that's usually they're crossed off the list automatically. Because I just a pet peeve of mine. Because, well, no, that's not a basic requirement though, to be able to do your job well. So, you know, oh, I was, you know, this, and I love people, and that's why I got in PR. Then I would go, well, then go work at a retail, you know, like go do something else. That's not what we do. It's a little offensive to me, and I maybe take it a little too much, it diminishes what I do every day by saying that like anyone that just loves people can do this. So, and it also makes me think that you didn't really think through what I do every day and what you actually want to do every day, because there's a lot of careers where people that love people can go and have a wonderful time. So that's usually my first, I mean, I'm pretty hard, but that's usually my first, like, all right, well, we'll put them a little aside and see how other people do.
You know, I like to ask the question, what is your expertise? What are you good at? Tell me what you're good at, why? And it helps me to really understand what they feel they're good at, because I usually have a lot of projects in mind, and so I'm looking to match.
Right.
And the other thing is, I strongly believe this, that people have to be really happy about what they're doing. And I can see that when they're talking. If they start smiling, I really like this, or I'm really good at this, you can see expertise and passion, and that's what I'm looking for.
And I look through your resume and look at what experience you put down, or what internships, what volunteer opportunities, you know, whatever you've listed as your experience. And I probe into each of those items to make sure that, to understand what skills you're bringing from that, why you did it. Particularly on the involvement side, I'm a real stickler for, if you put something down that you're a member of something and I ask you questions about it and you can't tell me really any involvement you've actually had, then that is a big strike for me. You can join everything in the world you want, but if you don't actually contribute, if you're not an engaged, contributing member of that, then you shouldn't put it on your resume.
And I would say practice your resume, like have somebody probe, because that's the hardest part, is trying to find the words to articulate. Because we can do it for our clients, but for ourselves, being able to say why we're good at something or how to handle a situation. And the other thing is, culturally, organizations want you to fit too. So if you're looking at an organization, understand what they're about, do some research, because they'll ask questions about that. They'll want to see how interested you are. There may be some interviews you go on and you really don't care if you work there, you just need a job, but they're going to want somebody who wants to be there, and I think you're going to want to be there too. You want to fit too, because a lot of times you get there in 6 months, you're like, what did I sign up for? So you need to interview them just as much as they interview you.
It's always a two-way street. You do not want to end up someplace where you don't want
Thank you guys. Let's give our. I hope it's helped you. We now have a luncheon over in the 4th floor of Building 14, which is where the cafe is, or the cafeteria. So we're all going to head over there, and we have a few minutes if anybody wants to talk